This Friday, TCG Player is going to be doing a special like Mayhem sale where you get 10% back on your purchases. And so I wanted to share some cards I would recommend purchasing, and these ones you can get pretty inexpensively. This is sort of a follow-up video to the one I did before with the personal customized secret layer, which featured a lot of red staples plus even Mind Sensor. And with that one, I was trying to go for a secret layer, like what's a good value price point for it. This is going to be a follow-up video to that, but this one I'm not so much worried about price. I'm actually looking for inexpensive cards to add. So the 5 cards I'm going to list here are not going to total up to $30, but that's sort of the point. These ones I think do a lot of work and do not cost a lot of money. So I would definitely recommend jumping on these during the sale and grabbing them up for your decks because they do a lot of work. One of them that I have, the first one I'm talking about, is Weathered Wayfairer, and this is my foil 9th edition copy back from 2005, just a few years after I started playing Magic, so I've had this card for quite a while. But I love Weathered Wayfarer. It's a human nomad cleric. For 1 mana, it's a 1/1, and you pay 1 and tap, search your library for a land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Place ability only if an opponent controls more lands than you. And I love it that you can find any land. You're not limited to just plains or anything. You can pull any land out of your deck, add it into your hand. And I run Weathered Wayfarer in most of my decks involving white. It's just such a good early turn play. In my Balin deck, I have a mono white Voltron deck with Balin as the commander. So one of the first things I would grab in that would be Lotus Field, which is tapped, but when it enters, you sacrifice 2 lands and then taps for 3 mana. So with this and Weathered Wayfarer, you're always going to be down on lands. Somebody's going to control more lands than you because you're intentionally blowing up your own lands for the Lotus Field. And so then you can grab that, and then next turn you can grab Thespian Stage to copy the Lotus Field, and then you're up on mana. And then you can always do, if you really want the extra one, you can do Vesuva to copy the Thespian Stage or copy the Lotus Field. But yeah, so I'm a huge fan of Weathered Wayfarer. That's just in my mono white deck. I also play it in Winota, and in Winota I typically will use it to search up one of my mini lands, which creates tokens. Things like Carekeep or Fountain Port or Mirrex. Those all create tokens to trigger Winota, and Weathered Wayfarer helps me pull them all out of the deck. I also run it in my Osgir deck, which the Osgir one has a lot of restrictions. It's playing Zirda as a companion, and so every permanent card in the deck has to have a tap ability. And so I'll use Weathered Wayfarer in there to find things like Fomori Vault or the Inventor's Fair, things to help me search up and find more artifacts for Osgir. So yeah, Weathered Wayfarer is a card I've played with for years, decades at this point, and it used to be a fairly expensive card before Double Masters 2022 came out, and then it got a reprint, and now you can find it for around $1, $1.50, but it used to be creeping up like $5-6 for a copy of it. So now's a great time to jump in and get Weathered Wayfarer added to your deck. It's always good to have a first turn play in Commander, and Weathered Wayfarer is one of the best ones. Another good first turn play that does something very similar is Elvish Reclaimer. As you can see, this one's already been featured in a secret layer with the wild treatment that makes it somewhat difficult to read. But Elvish Reclaimer, creature, elf, warrior for 1 green mana. It's a 1/2. And a creature gets +2/+2 as long as there are 3 or more land cards in your graveyard, and then you can pay 2 and tap, sacrifice a land, search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So Elvish Reclaimer sounds an awful lot like Crop Rotation, which, as you may be aware, is on the Game Changers list. Elvish Reclaimer is not. Now, it's a little more telegraphed than a Crop Rotation would be from your hand, but it's still instant speed, and still lets you do all the same tricks that you could do with Crop Rotation, just stable on their creature, and you can do it repeatedly. I play this in my Marin of Clamnell Toth deck, which has a real lands theme to it, and so you're playing all kinds of cards in there, like Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, which is from that same secret layer drop, and Ashaya turns all of your non-token creatures, you treat them as forest lands in addition to their other types. So this turns all of your creatures into creature lands. And then also runs things like a Steward of the Harvest, which is another one that I've said I think's undervalued currently. I think that this card has a lot going for it by giving all your creatures activated abilities of lands cards it exiles. And so I can use Elvish Reclaimer to search for lands and then sacrifice those lands and then exile those with the Steward of the Harvest. And you can have some really fun interactions with that. Like, for example, Blast Zone. If you exile this with the Steward of the Harvest, and all of your creatures now have the abilities of Blast Zone. You can put charge counters on them, and then you can sacrifice your creature to destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana costs equal to no charge counters on it. But so it says non-land, and so if a Shia makes all of your creatures into lands, then they won't be destroyed by the Blast Zone, and then it's just a one-sided board wipe at that point for your opponents. And so it has a lot of fun potential, I think. But again, I would use Elvish Reclaimer to find something like Blast Zone, find Horizon of Progress, so that way you can put more lands onto the table. You can also sacrifice the land to draw a card, and if all your creatures have that ability, then they can do it as well. Cabal Coffers, which can just get ridiculous when you've got Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth in there. Dust Bowl can also be pretty fun, especially if you turn all of your creatures into lands, because then you just start sacrificing your creatures to just do spot removal land destruction on your opponents, and it can get out of hand pretty quickly. Lazotep Quarry is also another relatively inexpensive card that I think does an awful lot, especially if you're able to recur it and keep getting the lands back. But again, these are just all things in my Mariner Clan Naltoth deck that just give you a little idea of why Elvish Reclaimer plays such a pivotal role in there. I think if anybody's playing a green deck and maybe don't want to run crop rotation as a game changer, Elvish Reclaimer is a good option. That there's pretty much a similar thing. That does take me, though, into the next card that I wanted to discuss, which is also in the Marin deck. But I do want to highlight and single this one out a little bit. It's Spymaster's Vault. I talked about the Arena of Glory in the last one. I'm going to talk about Spymaster's Vault in this one. I really loved the rare land cycle for Modern Horizons 3. I thought it added a lot. But this is the black one, and it comes into play tapped unless you control a swamp. You can add black, you can pay 1 black and tap. Target creature you control connives X, where X is the number of creatures that died this turn. So even if you're not in a aristocrats or a sacrifice theme, creatures are dying all the time in Commander, and Spymaster's Vault does a great job of just helping you filter through your deck. You can fill up your graveyard with reanimation targets. It does an awful lot in that you're drawing cards, you are discarding cards, adding counters, and it's all on a land, and the opportunity cost is very low. It's just 1 black and then tapping that land to do it. So you can just leave it up, let it cycle around, wait for creatures to die, and then reap the benefits. I love it. It's just so much value and card filtering. Fills up your graveyard, which brings us on to the next topic of something that every deck needs, which is graveyard removal. And in this case, Dauthi Voidwalker is one of my favorite options for that. Dauthi Voidwalker has Shadow, so it can only block or be blocked by creatures with Shadow, and if a card will be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you instead exile it with a Void counter on it. And you can tap and sacrifice the Voidwalker to choose an exiled card an opponent owns with a Void counter on it. You may play it this turn without paying its mana cost. So that's a huge reward. I play it in my Mariner Clan Naltoth deck, and that's one of the things I'll do with the Dauthi Voidwalkers, just keep bringing it back turn after turn. And since all the cards that get exiled with it have void counters, it means that even if he comes back and is a new creature, a new card, he still sees the void counters from things that were exiled before, so you can still use those and get them back later. So there are a lot of cards that exile graveyards, but he offers some real solid utility, and it's only about $5 now. It's definitely one of the more expensive cards on this list. Elvish Reclaimer and Dauthi Voidwalker are both about $5, but it's really not bad for what you're getting for it. The Spymaster's Vault, it's only a couple of bucks, so it's even cheaper. The last card that I wanted to talk about was Mystic Reflection, and this one, I cannot believe it is only $1. This is one of my biggest pet cards. It does so much. It works on offense, it works on defense. It has Foretell. Choose as instant for 2 mana. Choose target non-legendary creature. Next time 1 or more creatures or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature, and then you can foretell it, paying 2 colorless, and then play it on a later turn for just 1 blue mana. And so I run this in every blue deck that I can. For example, in Arthur Marigold Knight is a blink deck, and so now it has some immediate utility with something like Mystic Reflection, where you're constantly blinking your creatures every turn. And so if you've got a little creature that you want to blink, you can blink it out, have it come back, and then play Mystic Reflection. So instead of entering as its small self, it enters as a copy of the best big non-legendary creature on the battlefield, whether yours or your opponent's. If you have some way to flicker something at instant speed, you can surprise somebody by blinking at instant speed, having it come back, and then play Mystic Reflection, have a surprise huge blocker. Or if you do something like Brago King Eternal to blink your own board, you can blink your own board and have come back as all copies of the best thing on the board. One thing that I'm hoping to try with this is a new card from Dragonstorm is use Brago combined with Mystic Reflection and the Flamehold Grappler. So just have Brago blink everything and then have everything come back in as a copy of the Flamehold Grappler, which says, when this creature enters, copy the next spell you cast this turn when you cast it. You may choose new targets for the copy. And so you get one of those triggers for every creature that enters as a copy of the Flamehold Grappler. And so then you just play something and just go to town making a ton of copies. So yeah, I love Mystic Reflection in Arthur Marigold Knight, but I also run it in my Xyrus deck, because you're making tokens there whenever people draw cards, whenever your opponents draw extra cards, you're making snake tokens. And so you can just wait until you want to surprise somebody. You can either place any instant speed to make them draw cards to have you get a snake, or just wait for them their own cards to get them those extra draws. And then instead of creating a snake, use Mystic Reflection to have it come in as a copy. Now people are drawing one card, they're drawing one card at a time, so you can't use Mystic Reflection normally to get a whole ton of triggers off of this. But you can still get at least one copy of something with your snake tokens. And you can just pick whatever the biggest thing is, copy it, and you're good to go. And the other blue deck that I have is my Kaikar Zephyr Awakener. Now this was my Talrain deck for the longest time, but I recently made the switch to Kaikar just to get a extra color in there, more white staples added, because blue is just, it's a little thin, and I think Talrain's been power crept out ever so slightly. But I still enjoy Mystic Reflection there, because whenever you're casting your non-creature spells, you can create 1/1 white spirit tokens with flying. You can do that even at instant speed in response to an instant. And then on top of that, you can cast Mystic Reflection, creating another spirit. But then you can have it to where when the spell resolves, you can turn one of your spirits that enters into copy of the best thing on the board. So again, those are just 3 examples, all doing the same thing, similar things. Now, those are all the ways that you can do it for yourself, but you can also do it to hurt your opponent's things. I've used Mystic Reflection just as often to, my opponent's going to play a big spell, I don't have a counter spell for it, and I just use Mystic Reflection, make it come in as a 1/1 token instead, and it just thwarts their plan. So it's, it's just as good as a counter spell, if not better at sometimes, because you're denying them the ETB, you're denying them anything else associated with that creature while it's in play. So yeah, that's what I would say if I were to pick up some cards this Friday. I'd go with Weathered Wayfairer. I would go with the Elvish Reclaimer. And again, Elvish Reclaimer is like $5. Weathered Wayfairer is like $1.50. Spymaster's Vault's a couple of bucks. Dolphy Voidwalker is like $5. Mystic Reflection is like $1. And I think it should be in every blue deck that can play it. It just offers so much utility, but that's why I would put as my second secret layer. Not as much value price-wise in it, but a lot of these cards do an awful lot for the price, and so I would definitely consider them for your next Commander deck. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back with more videos later. Bye.